Hi everyone, my name is Ilija Budimir. I work for AlphaBOLD and I have been in ERP consulting space for over 10 years. Today we'll talk about NetSuite ERP for life science, med device, and pharma companies. So let's introduce today's topic. Over the years, we analyzed many med device and life science organizations, and today we'll discuss what type of challenges they face on a day-to-day basis. Next, we'll review what type of solutions are appropriate for these types of organizations. And our main focus will be the startups with limited operations, lower employee count, and less complicated software needs. However, similar concepts and solutions apply to bigger organizations. One last thing, stick around and I will talk about AlphaBOLD and what we do at the end of the presentation. Now let's get things started and let's discuss the three topics I've prepared for you today. All right, let's look at the agenda for today's presentation. First thing that we'll talk about are the operational challenges for life science organizations. Next, we'll cover what ERP can do to help. Lastly, we'll talk a little bit about AlphaBOLD. First challenge that life science organizations will face relates to funding and grant management. When it comes to drug development, grants are a very common source of financing. This can be grants coming from the government, private donors, etc. Each grant, however, comes with its own rules and restrictions on spending policy. It is important to manage these grants systematically and control spending, as the investors and donors want to see detailed reports on spending and performance against budgets. Second, we'll talk about inadequate accounting or business systems. Most startups use QuickBooks as their accounting system. Soon after they implement it, they realize that QuickBooks doesn't have a good three-way matching process that allows staff to quickly validate whether they have received all lab equipment, for example, and whether the purchase invoice price is matching their PO price for a specific product line. Additionally, QuickBooks may not manage organizations' inventory very well, so they may need to purchase another tool, such as Fishbowl or Katana. Let us not forget asset management. QuickBooks may not have required capability to manage companies' fixed assets, such as expensive lab equipment. Third, reporting. Most organizations, big or small, fail to stop running their analytics out of Excel. Some users may be comfortable with Excel formulas and they may even know how to create macros, so they continue to analyze and share their data through Excel. Now, what happens when formula breaks or data is missing in a workbook you've shared with your colleague or boss? You will be surprised how common these situations are and how difficult it is to maintain company data in Excel, especially if frequent updates are required and the data volume is significant. Excel breaking can have a considerable and irreparable negative impact on companies' operations and financials. Lastly, let's discuss quality control and compliance. As products or drugs are being developed and designed, test data must be stored in a systematic way, accurately and efficiently. The organization will also need a system that will facilitate the sharing of data between various users. This system is called QMS, or Quality Management System, and what is important to note, especially for drug development, is that these environments must be centralized in order to make collaboration easier. For instance, if each lab member uses their own electronic lab notebook, ELN, to recording information in different file formats, this type of fragmentation will cause challenges which include sharing, accessing, and exploring the data. Everybody having a different file format will make things challenging for the organization. This means that the data needs to be standardized and in one place so that researchers don't have to go through multiple systems to access it. Next, we'll talk about how NetSuite can assist in overcoming some of the challenges we discussed. First, I do want to show you a NetSuite functionality, but before we dive in, I want to walk you through the topics we'll discuss. First, we'll focus on our attention on grant management in NetSuite. We'll talk about custom segments as well. Next, we'll cover accounting and basic business processes. Then we'll look at the reporting with NetSuite Suite Analytics. And we'll wrap up the presentation with a short discussion around quality control through NetSuite QMS. Welcome to NetSuite. Let's start discussing grants. In our scenario, a state government or some other organization will provide funding for development of a drug. Now, I got to this grant list by going through the menu. So let me show you where I went. I went into grant management grants. I'm going to open up my grant here. So this is my grant. As you can see, the total amount is on a grant in the header section. Then you can see the sponsor of the grant. You can also see that the grant was awarded. And then you can see the start date and the end date of the grant. Furthermore, in the classification section, where all the segments are, you can see the grant type, the term. And then if I go to the milestone section, I can see all the milestones of the grant, all the different stages, okay, for tracking of the grant. Then if I go into the related records, I can see my assets, total assets of the grant, and I can see all the donations that were made over a certain period of time. Next, I'm going to go into that one of these transactions. So this is the transaction. It was a $30,000 donation. As you can see, NetSuite posts to GL through transactions, transaction lines. We call these lines items, and they have a specific mapping to a specific GL account. And then we tag these lines with various segments. One of these segments is a grant. Then there are different workflows that can be established here. You can also see a tag for the project and for the grant as well. Now let me show you what that looks like on a GL side. So if I go to the GL impact section of this transaction, you will see how this posts to GL. And you can see that these are posting transactions. And then what's important is that every single line is tagged to a specific segment. Grant is a custom segment. And when we post a transaction, these are tagged to a specific segment. And then if we go to a financial report, so this is our income statement. If we look at the footer section, we can actually list all our revenue or all of our expenses by the grant. So grants are kind of listed in a column up there, if you can see, right? So we can also list the income and expenses by program as well. If we refresh our income statement, we can see how these are tagged. And if I want to see the details, I can actually click on this link. It will bring me to the detailed transaction that's responsible for that donation. So I can see all the details here. Now let's talk about some of the accounting processes that make NetSuite the system that it is. First, let's start with the three-way matching. As mentioned before, companies require a systematic way of matching PO quantities to bill quantities, and they need a good way to match up the amounts stated on a PO with the amounts that they finally paid to the vendors. Calling a person in a shipping department or cross-checking for receipts via email is no longer an option. Everything must be accessible at a click of a mouse. NetSuite provides three-way matching capability by enforcing back-end restrictions, such as preventing users from invoicing purchase quantities that have not been received. And secondly, by flagging purchase invoices with price variances and routing these for approval in cases where those variances are not really material. So this makes procurement managers' life easier and provides visibility across the organization. Remember, this is one system that everyone can access from anywhere in the world. Additionally, it's important to mention that this access is role-based, and each role will have different set of permissions. Therefore, duties are segregated, and each user should only be able to see the information that is pertinent to their job. For example, purchasing manager may need a full set of permissions in order to manipulate purchase orders, whereas the warehouse manager may only need the ability to receive purchase orders. Similarly, the AP clerk should only be able to pay bills that were approved. So this is a total game changer for smaller organizations where these types of established processes are very much needed. Okay, now I'm going to show you in NetSuite an example of a PO where we have a quantity to be received 10 units. We can see that 5 units were received and nothing was billed. Now, the expectation is when I actually generate a bill, so I'm going to click here on a bill, I'm going to go to the next tab and show you this bill, and you can see that I can only bill 5 units that were actually received. And these are the back-end restrictions that are enforced by the system. Now let's review grant reporting. I can access grant reports through the financial section on the NFP Financial Center screen. First report we'll look at is the release from use restriction. So revenue to release report is used to see what types of restrictions are set for each grant. After the donor imposed restrictions have been met, the system will release the revenue from its restriction. These restrictions are use-based or time-based, and they're set when pledge is created. Now let's look at the grant milestone report. This report uses grant milestone to track actions required for a specific grant. These are usually deadlines for various reports, approval deadlines, and so on. This enables your organization to comply with a grant terms and conditions. You can also set up automatic reminders to the designated staff responsible for the milestone. Reminders can be set for sending required reports on time or following up on requested approvals. And then the last report I want to show you is the grant statement of activity. So this report is like the regular statement of activity, but it displays revenue and expenses only for grants. So it can be either for a specific grant or multiple grants. So what I did is I exposed the grants, all of the grants below by the custom segment, so you can see all of the grants here. This last part of the presentation is related to quality control. As mentioned earlier, disparate systems are costly. Wouldn't it be nice if we can incorporate quality and inspection flow to our production and supply chain directly in NetSuite? I think the answer is yes. Quality management module in NetSuite does just that. Let's look at the features quality management module provides in NetSuite. What does QMS do? It formalizes quality policies within NetSuite. Secondly, it initiates quality activities from business transactions that are monitored by the system automatically. And lastly, it enables paperless quality data collection and aligns quality and non-conformance with business processes. On my screen, you can see the process for quality management in NetSuite. It starts with a quality inspection record, which is attached to quality specification. Normally, the transaction would enter the system, and based on quality context, which is linked to the item, product, or service, it would initiate the inspection or not. So quality context essentially is the set of specifications that tell the engine whether to initiate the inspection. Once the inspection is initiated, the transaction goes into an inspection queue where the quality agent can look at the tablet and then proceed to inspect the service, the product, or the process. If the inspection fails, certain steps are performed based on quality context, and should the inspection succeed, the transaction is processed and completed. On the next screen here, you will see what that quality specification context looks like. On top, you see the assigned specifications. You can see also right below whom these specifications are assigned to. And then at the bottom, you see what steps are to be performed should the inspection succeed or fail. On the next screen, you can see the quality specification queue to the left. And on the right side, you will see the actual steps the form performs based on quality specifications. These are completed by the quality agent. Thank you for watching this presentation. I want to spend a little bit of time to talk about AlphaBOLD. Who is AlphaBOLD? We're your technology advisors. Our goal is to help you grow by leveraging the latest business technologies. Businesses reach out to AlphaBOLD for various reasons. Sometimes they're looking for help with specific platforms, such as NetSuite, SharePoint, Microsoft Dynamics. Predominantly, though, they're seeking for solutions that require unique business and technology expertise. These solutions are often system agnostic, amalgamations of various technologies. We want to be your one-stop shop for IT consulting services. As with a supermarket, to save time, you would reach out to a single local partner or store that can respond to most of your business technology and IT needs. Not only will this strategy save you time and money, but we argue it will propel your growth and make you more adaptable to an ever-changing business landscape. We believe that by spending time with you and by understanding your business challenges, we can apply our knowledge of our technology to remove any obstacles that can slow you down. How can we help? When you reach out to us, we connect you with our engagement managers. These business analysts spend time understanding your organization, your business strategy, and your plans. Once we have identified a need that technology can solve, we make one or more of our practice managers a part of this conversation. It is important to note that we are interested in long-term partnerships with our clients. We want you to be a part of BOLD community. For this reason, we offer cost-free consultations so that both parties can be certain that their partnership is mutually beneficial before committing to anything. At AlphaBOLD, we prefer taking a phased approach to anything that we do. By breaking up large projects into smaller chunks or phases, we can, number one, accomplish quick wins, number two, establish trust between all parties, and number three, set a foundation for a long-term relationship. We hope to meet with you soon and establish a long-lasting relationship with your organization. Thank you.